retraining our, security agencies. Like I saw a clip of the police in the national security, that's a police side, National Police Service in Kisii, having a training. It was actually a preparation and a training. I don't know whether you saw that clip where there was a serious drill and training that was going on at the Kisii Stadium, where they were having drills and they were kind of preparing the police officers on how to handle, for example, demonstrations in case of an upheaval, what they're supposed to be doing. And I thought, wait a minute, this is what our security agencies are supposed to be doing as a way of preparing for, during, and after.
That's right, yes.
Right, the elections, and much more so as a way of also helping the security agencies with the skills that they need on how to handle some of these eventualities that may take place during this time, during the elections, and even thereafter when the results have been declared. So I think, let's be fair. Sometimes we cast aspersions on the security agencies, and I'm not holding brief for the National Police Service, but I think they're trying their best, Mudibo, because these are our brothers and sisters. Let it be said loud and clear. They have tried their best, but I am making a passionate appeal that this time around, and I know, especially the CS in charge of Interior, together with his team, have been trying their best, and we have had them talk over and over again. We can see through the clips, some of the clips about the training that's going on. Can we translate what is being said and what we see in terms of the training in action now, during, and after elections? Because that's then what will count, so that we don't lose Kenyans. We do not have our youth, our young people exposed in some of the incidences which have taken place before. So, yes, the National Police Service and the security agencies have a work cut out for them during this time, during the elections, after the elections, and even after that. There should be continuous training of our security agencies, not only for elections, but even in other aspects.
Because that is what's going to build confidence.
Yes.
That's going to build confidence. And applied across board without the perception of bias.
Right.
Without perception of bias.
And having said so, the truth of the matter is you won't miss one or two characters that can easily be compromised to be on one side.
Yes.
And we are making a clarion call from the church. That should not happen, because, like you said, one life lost.
One life too many.
Is life too many. We cannot afford to lose so many of our Kenyans, as it has happened before. We are in a new dispensation. We are in a new era, and we've got to do whatever we can to safeguard our people from what we have seen before.
Now, the youths are always indicted. I mean, we work, and sometimes you see rallies being called, and you have thousands upon thousands. I ask myself, where do these guys come from? Fair enough, they're mobilized.
Yeah. But there's so much money. There's so much money that is being used. So much money that is being used. And that's the unfortunate.
I think, is more like,
and that's the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
It borders actually on what we call transactional leadership. The kind of leadership that we have seen in this country through, I'm sorry to say, some of, not all, some of our politicians, is transactional leadership, where I would use you to get what I want. And after I've gotten what I want, I dump you.
Well, that was my...
And that's what is happening in this country.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, right now politicians have surfaced. But after elections, they all switch off their phones.
They disappear.
All they get other numbers. You can't get them after they've gotten to the office. And Kenyans should be aware of that. And then they wait. After 5 years is when they surface with all the money they have gotten, God forbid, from wherever, to go and allure these innocent Kenyans who are supposed to be served by the same leaders. The youth that are supposed to be given jobs or have opportunities created for them are ignored, kept aside, to be used, and then later on be dumped. You know, I'm speaking this with a passion.
Yes.
Because I see a different model of leadership in this country. It is time Kenyans open their eyes and elect servant leaders, transformational leaders, leaders who have the burden of the nation and the burden of Kenyans at heart. Sometimes I walk around, and whenever we are driving around, I look at our young people, the way they loiter on the streets. Go to town, go to Kenicom Hilton, outside there, and see how many young people are seated there with degrees and diplomas. When the same people that we elect who give promises during campaigns will do this, will do that. Wait a minute. It's time we stopped fooling Kenyans and rise to the occasion. Translate what we say into action, so that when the scorecard is read, we can say, Leader A said this and was able to deliver 85%, if not 90%. But if we are going to entertain the kind of leadership that we are seeing right now, and you know, Mudibo, what really burdens my heart, we know so and so has been named, accused of having looted public money. And that's the same that they're using in campaigns. And we want to elect the same people back to the office. And then you leave a leader that is known to be a performer. You keep him aside simply because of 1,000 shillings, 500 shillings, 200 shillings. And I will say this, it's time Kenyans became responsible. We identify genuine leaders, authentic leaders. And let us actually hold them to account. Let's hold them to account as we elect them. Let them tell us what they were able to do before we consider casting our votes for them. So I'm speaking this with a passion simply because we Kenyans also are blundered in a way. We know somebody's character. We know somebody's performance. But because of what the person is giving out, dishing out, in fact, that's bribing. And we go ahead and we vote them. Then we are left languishing and crying like it is in the Bible, in the Old Testament. Yeah, you choose for yourself a leader, and that leader does what he does, and then you cry out. That's what is happening in this country. So it's time we changed that narrative, and we took a different approach and identify genuine, authentic, credible leaders that will deliver.
And I think this is where the church would come in. And I ask, someone just sent a question here. How far back do we look at the character of Bishop Kefa, who has offered himself for elective position, when we now look at the options that we have?
Yes.
So that then media, our colleagues, the platform that we're in, is able to also, you know, amplify and say, these are the options, this is what you should look out for. But the consumers, you and I, the Wananchi out there, are also conditioned into a certain set of beliefs.
Right.
And we're carried by waves.
There's this what we call background check. Background check is very important. When a candidate fronts himself or volunteers to be one of those candidates to be elected, do we ever dare honestly sit as a community, sit as a nation? And we have different clubs, different, you know, organizations, like the church organization, for example. We just finished a wonderful conference some time back, a few months back. I think you have heard about it.
Yes.
the Church and Politics Conference
Yes, yes,
that was held
yes.
at Movenpick in Westlands.
Westlands, yes.
I'll tell you, that conference was an eye-opener, to the extent that we even felt we needed to come up with a Bible study material.
And we're going through that, yes.
Which is actually being
politics.
used right now,
yes,
as to the kind of leaders that we need to elect. And if you look at that Bible study guide, it shows us exactly what we need to look at before you think of casting your vote. And I pray that many bishops and pastors will actually access this material so that it can be used in preparing our congregants as to the kind of leaders that we need to vote. Now, I was talking about the background check. How far must we go? For example, to find out how a leader has performed. Let's be honest. We have the same crop of leaders, right, that have been cleared to stand for elective posts. And have we dared to go back and find out whether or not what they promised has been delivered? It's a question that I'm posing to us,
yes,
and to the viewers.
That's right. And to what extent have
we done the background check? There is what we call performance appraisal. I'm a human resource person. At a given time, you appraise employees. And this is what we do. You ask them to appraise themselves.
Yes.
And you come in last as an employer. All right? The question is, have we appraised our leaders? They stood a couple of years ago. They made promises according to their manifestos. They said, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do that, etc. The question is, if we were to rate them, what percentage or what kind of marks will we give them? Have they delivered on their promises? That's why I'm talking about the background check. Number two, what about the qualities? You know, there's a lot that goes with that.
Yes.
Do they say this and tomorrow they change? They don't do what they say. That borders on their integrity. Because integrity has to do with what you say should be seen in reality, in action. And what you are in public must be what you are in private. I mean, if we are to summarize what integrity is, and that is in chapter 6 of the Constitution, am I able to stand on what I have said, what I have promised the Kenyans? If we have those kind of leaders that made promises and they have not been able to deliver on their promises, honestly, must we vote them back? Now, there are those who have come in as freshers. They have not been in offices. Have we done the background check of how they have performed from where they have been? Maybe in the corporate sector, private sector, etc. How have they performed wherever they are? What kind of testimony do they have that we can actually ride on? So there is a lot in terms of background checking as to the kind of people or the kind of candidates, the kind of leaders that will need to vote for governance, right at the national level, come to the county, all the way to the wards. I think there is a need for us as Kenyans to be honest with ourselves and do what we call the background check, among other things, so that come the day of elections, as much as there's been this noise and the noise which is going on right now, the campaigns, the shouting, the heckling, and whatever is happening, after we have done the background check, let us narrow down on this is the kind of a leader that we want to vote for and get into office. Because, you know, that person that we are voting for, be it the presidency, right, member of parliament, be it the governor, senator, or the MCA, they are getting there to serve us.
That's right, yes.
To serve us. And that means then if the person or these people that we are voting in are not servant leaders and they're not authentic, I can assure you, we'll be going around the same vicious circle. as what has happened before. So it is time we changed the narrative.
And in changing this narrative, dare I suggest we don't also wait until the next cycle of elections
Precisely.
to do the background check. It should
Precisely.
be
A continuous. Just like we talked about the National Police Service.
Yes.
That they should not wait until the campaigns, during elections. That's when we see them in action.
No.
There should be continuous refresher courses, training for skills that are required for different functions. So it is also to us as Kenyans. And that's why, Brother Mudibo, my heart is so, I'm really yearning to see across this country, church leaders and leaders from the faith-based communities, all of us beginning to talk. We begin to have this kind of a conversation. We come up with what we feel Kenyans need to look at before we think of electing this person into this office. If we can have that honest conversation, we don't have to wait until elections time, but we begin to have different clubs, come up with different approaches of how we can help Kenyans. I believe by the time we get to the campaigns, right, to consider who to elect into offices, we would have educated our people. They'll be knowledgeable. Don't be allured with 200 shillings, 500 shillings. Things like Mutuwetu should not appear anywhere. There are things we should not be looking at. We should look at who is this person? Who is Mudibo? How has he performed wherever he has been as a leader? How is his character? Is he a man of integrity? Can we count on him to serve us, not serve himself? A number of leaders we have, and even some of the aspirants are actually doing their best to making sure they go into those offices. For what purpose? To enrich themselves. That is what is happening in this country, and it has to be stopped.
And holding them to account during, even those who've been elected in, the church also needs to be, it has a role to play in holding our leaders to account even after the elections, before the next cycle, in empowering the congregants, in empowering the society with information in how to hold our leaders to account. If the MCA is not performing, if the MP is not performing, how many of us know that we have the opportunity to recall them?
Yes.
But you see, you get conditions that, no. The 5 years, we wait until 2027. Must we wait until 2027 when we have the recall clause?
Precisely.
Isn't that not the maximum allowable by the Constitution in terms of the term?
Yeah.
But if you're not performing, why must we tolerate you until 2027?
Precisely. I want to agree with you, and I think that's a point that we should not lose, that we church leaders have a responsibility of discipling our congregants, and much more so, those that come out to vie. As soon as a brother or a sister, a member of my church, shows that interest, I think I have a responsibility to sit with that person, to sit with this brother or this sister from my congregation and ask him or her pertinent and key questions. Do you have what it takes to govern? Or you want to go for this position because so and so has shown the interest? What is the compelling factor here? What is the motivation? Is it a calling? Is it a burden? What is this? Are you coming out like a Nehemiah? Nehemiah who is at the palace. Nehemiah comes to a place where he says, no, I cannot sit here in the palace with the report that I've heard about the state of things back in Jerusalem. When a word came to him of what had happened, Nehemiah immediately caught a burden.
He did.
All right? And then he had a vision, a burden and a vision. And you can see a man that actually was kind of disturbed by what was happening, a man who had a burden, a vision of going back to rebuild what had been destroyed. Nehemiah did not leave the palace with all the goodies that were at the palace to go back to Jerusalem to enrich himself or serve his personal interests. What we read in scripture is Nehemiah went, did what he could, and God made provision for him in terms of the human resource that he needed to enable him rebuild the walls and repair the broken gates. And the work was done within a very short time. Just to help us understand when God has marked you for leadership, and when you have a burden which is genuine, and the motivation is not yourself, but the welfare of the citizenry, God gives you a backup. He will back you up and give you whatever you need so that you are able to deliver. Nehemiah is one of my books that I use in leadership. So the point is this: as bishops, church leaders, pastors, do we sit with those that have shown interest in our congregations, walk with them, disciple them, apart from laying hands on them and anointing them? Do we walk with them and agree that we shall hold them to account? And if they don't perform as a pastor, I have a responsibility to summon him to my office for counsel, what we call godly counsel. That is my responsibility as a leader. So it's something that I would wish to appeal to all church leaders that have these members who have come out to vie. We need to make sure we take our rightful places as shepherds and shepherd them all the way. If we do so, we would have done what we are supposed to do. And that's why the Bible would say God will give his people shepherds after his own heart that will teach them with wisdom and knowledge. So we need church leaders, servants of God, to identify those brothers and sisters and walk with them. You see what? They have authority, and they have what? They have a responsibility over them because they're part of the sheep. And they're shepherds. So we don't just release sheep to go to the battlefield and we don't take care of those sheep. We have to make sure they're taken care of.
You have a responsibility.
There has to be that responsibility. And also for our brothers and sisters who go out there, they should not forget that when all is said and done, they need a place for spiritual nourishment.
It's important.
They need shepherds over their lives. They do not have to disappear for 5 years. And then they show up when they're searching for votes. I think for me, that's immoral. It should not be so.
Wow. Now, this is in the campaigns. Come the elections. It's competitive, it's offering. Where you have a winner, there is a loser. There are losers.
Yeah.
But we all can win if we still relate, accept, hold each other to account, and progress on.
Precisely.
How do we support that? How can we be involved as a church?
In fact, that's what we are advocating for. By the way, there is this phrase that it may seem like one has lost, but truthfully, there is no loss. Because there will always be the one that leads, and there will be the led.
Yes.
There is that one that leads
and the led.
And the led. That's how we look at it. That, for example, in these campaigns and in the elections coming, the truth of the matter is we will have one president. We'll have one deputy. What about the one that, in quotes,
didn't win?
Didn't win. The truth of the matter, they will still be in leadership.
Yes.
And if we are to talk about leadership, leadership is not position.
Exactly. Yeah.
Leadership is functioning. Your function, you can even influence decisions, not necessarily
because you're in the office.
No. You are in the office, but you are leading a sector, a critical mass of other leaders. It all depends on the kind of influence that you have on those who coalesce around you. You can actually determine the future of the nation by the kind of people that you influence. So I think it should be clear that we are in a new dispensation where leadership is all about influence, and much more so making sure that we show those around us on what they're supposed to do so that they are able to perform. So you can be in their position and yet too powerful. You can coalesce people around or other leaders around you as an official position leader. You may not be in the party that is governing, and yet you are too powerful when it comes to decision making. So at the end of the day, who is a winner? Kenyans. Everybody. Kenyans are winners as far as I'm concerned, because the president, for example, does his part. The official opposition leader does his part with the leaders that are following him or that he leads. We Kenyans come together. As long as we have a clear vision and direction, I don't think there is anybody who is a loser in this. It's Kenya that wins, and it's Kenya that must progress. And if we can have that kind of an attitude, then we'll make our competition so easier that even if I don't win, right, I have a place in terms of influencing Kenyans, showing Kenyans what needs to be done. So if we can have that concept clear, I don't think then we need to do what we see, picketings, demonstrations, going on the streets, banning people's properties. I think that's an evil way of looking at the outcome of politics and or the outcome of elections, so to say. So like you have said, Brother Mudibo, the truth of the matter is we need to understand we are in a different season altogether. It's a new dispensation where there will always be one president, there will always be one governor, of course the deputies, there will be one MCA, all the way. But there are also other functions that require leaders. If our people can understand that, then I don't have to fight you. If you're the one that has gotten the majority votes, I should respect the verdict of Kenyans.
The will of the people.
The will of the people should be
Yes.
respected more than what I want. The what I want is what is causing trouble in many countries, simply because there's something I'm looking at. And if I don't get it, then I have to do whatever it takes for me to have it. And then I would use innocent Kenyans, for example, innocent citizenry to get what I'm looking for. That is transactional leadership.
And that brings me to now the place of healing.
Yes.
Or managing loss.
Yes.
How can the church support or get involved with those that don't come out as winners or gotten into the elective post that they were seeking?
Yeah.
How can we be involved as a church?
You know, one of the things that we discovered during our conference, the one I referred to at Movenpick, the church and politics, one of the things that came out very clear is the church stands as an arbiter. The church stands as an arbiter. And that's why you are seeing the church has taken a position that is a little bit unique. Little bit unique in that, of course, everybody has the right to take a position and cast a vote to whomsoever he wills.
That's their preference.
Yes, that exactly. Yes. That one, everybody's entitled to that. But as church leaders, we are saying, when these candidates or when the aspirants at the end of it all have been voted and the outcome has gone whichever direction it's gone, and then you begin to see reactions. You begin to see reactions. Who is better placed to arbitrate? Who is better placed to reconcile the two sides?
The church.
What if you took sides?
There you are. You already will be partisan.
You lose your moral authority.
To be an arbiter.
To be an arbiter.
Yes, objective arbiter.
Objective arbiter.
Do that.
Let me tell you something. In my church, Redeemed Gospel Church Liberty Christian Center, I have members who subscribe to almost all parties.
Across board.
There are those who are for Azimio. There are those who are for Kenya Kwanza. There are those who are for Agano. There are those who are for different other. Are you seeing that?
Exactly.
If I make a mistake today,
to identify anyone,
as a senior pastor, and make an announcement that come next week when we are going for elections, this is the person I want all of you to vote in.
You'll already have taken a position.
Destroying the church. You have taken a position, you have divided the church, and you will begin to see what you never saw. And I want to make a passionate appeal. Let's not take that position as church leaders. The position that we need to take right now is to educate our congregants.
Educate, inform.
Educate, and we can use that study guide material that was prepared by our brethren, very powerful. Let's show the congregants the type or the kind of leaders we need to consider voting into offices. And then number two, encourage each one of us to pray. Because when you pray and ask God for direction, like in the New Testament, when a decision was supposed to be made, the apostle said, Lord, show us out of this who, out of this who. That should be the prayer of every Kenyan right now as we prepare towards elections. Our going to the ballot boxes, sorry to say, should not be based on the narratives we have had before. Sasa ni wakati wetu, huyo ni mtu wetu, hata ni mwizi ni mtu wetu. Yeah, we come from this place, we come from this place, us from this place, us from this place. Our Heavenly Father looks at us and says, no, that is not the way.
That's not the way.
And Kenyans have to come out of that. So as we prepare towards elections, as church leaders, we are saying, let's pray for God's will to be done. Let's pray that God may show us as we make decisions on that, on the 9th, as to who. As to who. Lord, show us. That should be our prayer. Lord, show us out of this who should I cast my vote for. And at the end of the day, the submission will be the will of the people is done.
Yes.
And the will of the people, as far as I'm concerned, is what we should go for. And if someone, right, loses, so to say, like I said again in quotes, should be able to concede.
That's right, yeah.
Concede. And give in to the will of the people. That means the will of God is being done for the nation at that point in time. So we have a responsibility as church leaders to educate. Number two, to make sure that we speak out. And it's time we gave out the clarion call and held all leaders to account. And much more so after the elections, when the results have been declared, we church leaders should be there as arbiters and not take sides. That's my position, and this is careful mind.
Now, let me ask you, we have those who will seek elective posts through parties. There are those who seek elective posts as independent.
Yeah.
And there are those parties that will offer candidates in so-called strongholds.
Yeah.
Others, they call it, what do they say? There are certain regions or areas, they call it negotiated democracy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where the options given are decided by those
the community
who know what is good for you.
Yeah.
And tell you that's
what will I get out of this?
But by and large, that's the reality that we have on the ground today. What is your advice or position? What should we be looking out for? Do we just go in for a 6-piece suit, or do we go for the individual, even within this suit?
Yeah.
What counts most from
That's a very good question, Brother Mudibo. And I was praying that you ask that question because I have a problem. And the problem is this. Let me begin from the beginning. Why do some of the candidates decide to go as independent candidates? They decided to go as independent candidates largely because they felt they qualify or they have what it takes to be considered for the ticket. But you see, the ticket can only be given to one person.
Yes.
And in terms of making a decision as to who, I'm sure cards trade. A lot happens around the table. So it all depends on how strong you are.
Yes.
Either resource-wise or whichever way.
What is it you're bringing to the table?
What is this that you are bringing to the table? Again, that's why we end up perhaps losing the opportunity of giving this person that qualify, that has the ability,
The right person.
the right person,
The opportunity.
the opportunity to vie. So the person feels, and don't forget, that person has also a following.
Sure.
There could be community leaders who have been silenced. So they say, no, we feel so-and-so should go ahead and vie, but on a different ticket. So independent candidate or candidature comes in. There are those that the party decides and says, this is the one that should be given the ticket based on different reasons. So there are all this that goes on when making decisions as to who should be given the ticket. But the truth of the matter is this: at the end of the day, what are we looking at?
Yes.
Using all those approaches, independent, party candidate, negotiated, whatever, democracy or whatever you can call it, what are we looking at? They all actually lead towards who is this person that stands out that will serve the community and serve the nation. Right? That is what people should be looking at. Not the party.
No.
Not the party. But who is this leader? Who is this person that we feel will deliver? Are you saying that?
Yes.
That's what Kenyans should look at. Now, let me come to what you mentioned about the 3 Ps.
Yes.
I am a strong advocate of somebody's abilities. Somebody's abilities, somebody's character, somebody's qualities. You see, talk about qualities. If we are to talk about qualities, this one, the quality 1, 2, 3, there are qualities that we need to look at. Competence, for example, is a quality.
Yeah.
Competence
It's a criteria, certainly.
is a criteria
Yes.
that we have to look at. Is this person competent enough? Because, to be a leader over a nation like Kenya, where you are leading personalities, people with different personalities and different temperaments, calls for somebody that is competent. And if we are to unpack that competence, does this person called a leader have the emotional intelligence? There's the emotional intelligence. You are able to bring this, bring that together. And you are able to rally them towards a given cause. What about social intelligence? There's emotional intelligence. There is the social intelligence, where you are able to bring communities together without profiling and without balkanizing. If you have this person that you have elected who does not have social intelligence, what will happen to the country?
Oh, of course, fall apart.
Precisely. So what if that person who can cause a country to fall apart is within the 3 Ps? Say the presidency, or say the governor, as flawed characteristics, and you actually elect him as a governor, what do you expect out of that leader? Things will fall apart in that county. So that's why I'm saying, let's not look at the parties. Let us look at the leader, the qualities.
That individual.
That individual. That individual could be from this party, could be from that party, could be from that party. But if he stands out to be the person that will deliver, I would rather go for that person, not the one from my party. And that will be my word of counsel to all Kenyans. But you see, politicians will not tell you that.
No.
Because all that they're interested is numbers. Numbers. If they can have, and you know, interestingly, you can have a presidential aspirant that's very good, but a member of parliament has flawed character. So they would want to hide behind this strong presidential candidate, but with flawed characteristics. Now, what if you elect that person in the name of a party?
Then you're inviting doom.
Precisely. And then we begin to cry foul. So for me, and from where I sit, I will advise Kenyans, and especially to the church, let us trust God for the leaders of his choice. Men and women that have what it takes to serve our people. The key word over here is to serve Kenyans.
And indeed, in all this, God is on the throne.
God is on the throne.
And we're Kenyans today, we'll be Kenyans during elections, we'll be Kenyans even after. This is our country. We have a part to play. Let's be responsible. Interrogate the options. Hold our leaders to account. Hold ourselves to account. We have a role to play. That has been The Leader. Thank you so much, Bishop Kefa.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Indeed, that was a passionate engagement, insightful.
Wonderful.
And we look forward to The Leader next week, same time. God bless.
Amen.